Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Fazlin binti Muhammad Fauzi.
Hi and Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Siti Nursyahira binti Nur Hisham.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Rashika Nuzairah binti Zahri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, my group will present about the sources of revenue for Malaysian government. Let's go. There are three sources of revenue. First is tax revenue, second is non-tax revenue, and the last one is non-revenue receipt. What is government revenue? Government revenue refer to the revenues of the government financed by means of the participating in the distributions of the social products, which is the financial resources for ensuring the government function.
Data of revenue. So this is the Malaysia forecast government revenue. In 2015, government managed to gain revenue for RM260.837 billion. There is a decrease of revenue in 2016, which is the amount is RM251.124 billion. In 2017, the graph showed an increase in revenue, which is 262.994 billion. In 2018, the revenue is increasing to RM276.599 and continue to rise to RM304.818 billion in 2019, which is the highest revenue collected among 2015 until 2019.
Do you know what is tax means? Oh yeah, tax is defined as a fee charged by government on a product, income or activities. Government will use the tax revenue to fund all the spending made by government. This is because to achieve the economic growth and to promote the sound of economy. Wow, now I know. Thank you. Now let's proceed to the tax revenue. There are two types of tax revenue. First is direct tax and the second one is indirect tax.
What is direct tax? Direct tax is tax that which the burden of tax falls on the taxpayer and cannot be shifted to someone else. So, what is the component of direct tax? The component of direct tax is corporate tax, individual tax, withholding tax, tax revenue petroleum, stamp duty, real property gain tax, cooperative tax, and Labuan International Offshore Financial Center tax. So I'll be explaining this direct tax. Corporate tax. Corporate tax is tax that is imposed and is charged to the resident company Sendirian Berhad and Berhad that receiving income in Malaysia. Corporate tax is also charged to company outside Malaysia that carrying out banking business, air transportation, insurance and also sea transportation. Individual tax. Individual income tax is levied on wages, salary and other types of income. Any individual that earn income more than RM34,000 per annum after deducting EPF have to pay tax to all type of income. Withholding tax. Withholding tax is amount that is withheld by the party making payment on income earned by a non-resident. It is paid to the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia. The payer is required to withhold tax for payment for service rendered, technical advice, rental, or other payment made under any agreement for the use of movable property and paid to a resident payee. Tax revenue petroleum. Petroleum income tax is charged for each year of assessment on income of chargeable person. derived from petroleum operations. The rate is 38%. An effective income tax rate 25% applies on income from petroleum operations in marginal fields. Real property gain tax. Tax charged on gain arise from the disposal or selling of real property or shares in the real properties company. RPGT will be imposed at effective rate of 5% on the gain arise from the disposal of real properties or share in real property company within 5 years from the date of acquisition. Stamp duty. Stamp duty is tax levied on variety of return instruments specified in the first schedule of Stamp Duty Act 1949 and will be imposed to legal, commercial and financial instruments. It is paid by cash if not exceed 100, paid by revenue stamp if not exceed 500, and money order, solicitor's check or bank draft. Cooperative tax. Cooperative tax is charged to resident cooperative society receiving income in Malaysia. It is charged on income arising from mutual and non-mutual activities. Example of non-mutual activities are interest, processing fees and membership fees received by cooperative society from its member and its staff. Labuan International Offshore Financial Centre Tax. Tax rate applicable for Labuan entity is 3% on the chargeable income from Labuan trading activities only. Income from non-trading activities such as shares, loan, deposit, holding of investment, and other properties is not subject to tax at all. I hope everyone understands the component of direct tax. Now we will proceed to the advantages of direct tax. The first advantage is reduced income inequalities because persons are taxed based on their ability to pay. The second one is economical and lower cost mechanism because it is easily deducted from income or salary. The third one is control inflation because when inflation incurred, government will increase tax rate and the consumption demand will be declined.
Next, I will proceed to the indirect tax. Before I proceed to the meaning of indirect tax, I would like to ask you guys that what is mean by indirect tax? Do you know? Indirect tax is tax that can be passed to other individual and other entity. Tax imposed from the manufacturer or supplier then will be passed to the consumer. Type of indirect tax. There are four, which is sales tax, excise tax, custom tax, and gas tax. Sales tax. Sales tax is the tax included when we are shopping at the mall or the department stores. We are already paid the indirect tax. Upon we make a payment at the counter, the sales tax are included with the final sales price which the store collect and pay to the government. Example of good is household item, clothing, and other basic commodities are lead to the type of tax. What is example sales tax in Malaysia? SST. The second tax for the indirect tax is excise tax. When manufacturer buy a raw material for the company product, they already need to pay the indirect tax. For example, tobacco for cigarette company, they have to pay indirect tax for the raw material. They can pass the burden of the tax to other, which is the consumer, so that the final price will include the excise tax. The third one is custom tax. Things that are imported from the overseas will be charged the custom tax. The supplier will shift the burden to the consumer to pay it. This is why the final sales price for the item will be expensive because we also pay indirect tax without we know. The last one for indirect tax is gas tax. Buy gasoline for our vehicle will be charged indirect tax. This can be seen when at the petrol station on the receipt when we fill the fuel for our car. Now I will tell about the advantages of indirect tax. The first point is tax are not obvious. People don't feel like they are being charged by the tax since the value are small. It will not be seen on the price tag but only could be seen on the receipt. The second point is collection are easy. Indirect tax are paid when consumer paid the items. The tax will be collected by the supplier and paid to the government. The last point is discourage for harmful product. Alcohol and cigarette have high taxes, so the final prices for the item will be expensive. This will discourage people from buying the harmful products.
Let's proceed to the next sources of government revenue, which is non-tax revenue. So what is non-tax revenue? It is revenue other tax revenue that has wide variance in collecting revenue, which is this revenue is charged against service offered by the government. Besides, this revenue also include the receipts of interest on loans, dividends and profits that from states, railways, public sector companies and others. Let's look at component of non-tax revenue. Non-tax revenue consists of fees for issue of license and permits, government services, proceeds from sale of government assets, rental of government property, fines and forfeiture, and interest and return on investment. I start with fees for issue of license and permits. It is included under license and permits are all charged on the granting right to individuals, corporations, businesses and other purpose of regulation or control and motor vehicle license. Next, we move to government services. It is obtained from services that offered by the government to the citizens such as transportation, communication, electricity, water supply, tolls, fees from police services and others. For example, when citizens use the government services, they will pay bills, which include the share of non-tax revenue as they offered infrastructure support to ease the services. So, in return of collecting this revenue, government will provide better goods and services for the people. Next is proceeds from sale of government assets. These proceeds include receipts from the sales of physical assets owned by the government, including lands, buildings, office equipment, storage facilities, and the sale of miscellaneous goods to the public. Rental of government property that includes rentals of buildings, lands, machineries, and vehicles, also part of non-tax revenue. Next, we move on to interest and return on investment. Interest and return on investment include all interest on loan granted by the government, by interest or dividend earned from bonds or shares, and royalty on petroleum as well as gas. Lastly, we look at fines and forfeiture. The government also impose fines and forfeiture that include in or out court settlements such as traffic offence, littering, corruption, and other penalties. We can conclude that this non-tax revenue is important to improve in public financing as well as balancing the collecting sources of government revenue.
Another source of government revenue is non-revenue receipt. Let's see the example of non-revenue receipt. Refund of expenditure, interdepartmental credit, refunds of overpayment, erroneous payment, reimbursement and contribution from government departments, statutory bodies, and government-owned enterprise.
So, for the conclusion, we can sum up that the government achieves its revenue through taxation that enables them to do their expenditures and budgets. The role in collecting, conducting, avoiding, and enforcing payment of tax and other revenue performed by the Inland Revenue Board is organized well for the Malaysian government. Furthermore, these revenues are related in improving the economy. As we can see, the conditions of the economy in Malaysia affect the flow of tax collection in Malaysia are changing upward and downward and sometimes unpredictable. Through that data revenue, we can say that Malaysia almost improves its performance in the economy. Therefore, the government ensures that the funds collected are sufficient and spent wisely. Besides, this tax collected is well used by the government to provide better facilities for their citizens. Well, that's all from us. Thank you for watching.